Hey, and we're live, and welcome to Sunday. And glad you're with us. Had to take last week off. It was a travel week, but we're back now, and we're going to be going out on the road again as soon as Tuesday for the New York Auto Show. So that is a big deal. So New York Auto Show, there's going to be 4 or 5 all new models that are going to be shown, and we'll be there, and we'll upload videos from there. I just wanted to let you know that. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to be dropping this week. We have been traveling a lot. So we have the Mazda CX-90 inline 6-cylinder turbo 3-row SUV video. That's dropping tomorrow morning. When you get up, that video will be dropping. And also the PHEV version. That's the plug-in hybrid version of the CX-90. Both videos, there's one each, will be dropping tomorrow. Then later in the week, we have the all-new Prius Prime. That's coming out Wednesday afternoon. And the following day, on Thursday afternoon, that's when we're getting the all-new Corolla Cross Hybrid. So 4 all-new vehicles and 4 videos dropping this week. On top of that, we're going to be dropping all the New York Auto Show stuff from New York as we go through. So this week... Last week was kind of quiet. This week coming up is going to be wall to wall with all kinds of different cars. Okay, don't forget to sign up at carcostcanada.com. Use the promo code Motormouth. That's the name of the channel. Pretty easy to remember. And you become an expert member and you get a bunch of searches for free. If you're looking for a new car, you need to know what the dealer paid for it. I was talking to one of the principals at Car Cost Canada last week, and he mentioned that he believes that there's going to be definitely interest rate reductions and maybe even some rebates, especially on full-size domestic trucks. Think Chevrolet Silverado, Ram for sure, and maybe even F-150. So if you want to find out what the dealer paid, go to Car Cost. Look, it popped up there, carcostcanada.com. All right, what else do we have to talk about? Oh, pictures. If you want to get a picture into the show, it's Zach at motormouth.ca. That's ZACK at motormouth.ca or ZACK at motormouth.ca if you're from America. All right. First picture. This one comes from Yale. He said, check this out. This is quite incredible. I now own this local one owner. Check that out. 1986 Jaguar XJS V12 HE. It only has 19,000 kilometers on the clock. Collector plates and cassette tapes on my way to the 80s with this time machine. So that's, oh, sorry, let me just do this again. So Yale's car here, that's about 12,000 miles. Okay, the car was sold here in Vancouver to a family, and they had his and hers Jaguars, and they drove his more than hers. And then Yale gets this. So I got to get a look at that. That's pretty sweet. All right, the next one. This is from Hamed. He lives in Sydney, Australia. He had a picture of his Passat on the show before. This is his all-new A-Class Mercedes. He loves the amazing dashboard and touchscreen, the touchpad, also easy to use. And he's got the AMG wheels on it as well, and it looks pretty sweet and red. Hey, I like the dealer. Nice touch there with the big bow on it. So good for you. Congrats on the new car. This next one comes from Scott, who sends in pictures regularly here on the live show. That is his Mustang GT that he took to Ponies of the Smokies. It's a huge Mustang show in Sevierville, Tennessee. And there were 60 years of Mustang, and his represented 2021. He said they were great folks, and he drove the, I hope I say this right, Cherrahala Skyway, best road ever. And then he went to the Tail of the Dragon. He thought the Tail of the Dragon was seriously overrated. I agree with him. I've been on the Tail of the Dragon. There's a lot of twists and turns. You can't go fast. There's cops everywhere. There's motorcycles everywhere. There's bicycles everywhere. But I believe I've been on that Skyway. It's just fantastic, beautiful road. All right, next picture. This one is from Danny. Here's a local picture there. If you want to know what Vancouver looks like, you see it in our videos. That's a classic Vancouver street right there. And he has his 2023 Mazda MX-5 GSP with the sport package. The car arrived just in time for the nice weather in Vancouver, except for today. We had hail all morning long. Looked like snow was coming down, but it was actually hail. And our last picture, excuse me, this is from Jamie. He's sending a picture of the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. He says they're quite easy to obtain in the United States. I'm seeing a lot of them at dealer websites, maybe because it doesn't qualify for the EV tax credit. But it is a good vehicle, so there you go. All right, so if you want to get your picture in, send it to zach@motormouth.ca. Don't forget, if you just have to get a question answered, you type at the bottom where the $sign is. That's called a super chat. It helps out the channel, a small contribution to us here, and then it highlights the question for me. So sometimes I miss it, but I've been pretty good lately. All right. I just want to make sure we haven't had a super chat come in yet. Doesn't look like it. All right. 208 people on board already. Congratulations. Thanks for being here. Let's get into the questions. The first one comes from, shocker, not really, Sanjib always gets in first, and he says, what's the difference between the Genesis GV60, Kia EV6? Can you make the 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 4MATIC Tiguan? What would be your pick? 6-cylinder and okay, a lot of questions there. Difference between the GV60 and the EV6. The GV60 has more power. It's got the boost button on there, and it adds more torque and power for a limited range, 10 seconds. Much nicer interior, quieter, even though it's an electric car. The GV60 has totally different styling, but it's based on the same platform, based on the same architecture, different way of going around it, and more power is given to the Genesis over the Hyundai or the Kia. Here's Webb. Hey, Zach, what would be your pick between the Panamera 4S and the 4S e-hybrid? Pricing in the used market is quite close. Well, this one is easy, my friend. Get the Panamera 4S. Don't get the hybrid. Not a huge fan of the hybrid. And if you look at the repair record of the Cayenne hybrid, same drive system, that one I know because they don't sell very many Panameras. But I do know the repair record of the Cayenne hybrid. It's not been good. Okay, the gas models from Porsche are really quite strong, very reliable, but I would steer clear of the electrified version, especially if you're getting one of those early ones. Just do yourself a favor, get the Panamera 4S and enjoy it. If you're in the market for a Panamera and you can find the GTS, 3 magic letters, and that really is quite a car. That's the V8 turbocharged with the turbo suspension and an air suspension. That's quite a machine. All right, we have our first super chat coming in. By the way, the last few weeks you guys have spoiled me with all kinds of super chats. It's very nice of you. I'm in Las Vegas. People often buy PHEVs for climate control to combat the intense summer heat, pre-cooling the car and keeping AC on while shopping. Which PHEV have you tested is the most fun to drive? Any price? Well, any price, PHEV, I would say you're going to be looking at probably, you know, a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW PHEV, like the BMW X5 is a nice model. BMW is really focusing more on plug-in hybrids. Sure, they have their electrified cars, but plug-ins are really quite prevalent. Back to the Porsche thing again, they do offer plug-in hybrids, but I'm not a huge fan of the way that they work, and the repair record has not been that strong. If you're talking about mainline plug-in hybrids, I would say the Outlander PHEV, when you put it in the power setting, is really quite good. Same thing with the RAV4 Prime. So yeah, there's, in the SUV space, there's not that many. Just trying to think of sedans off the top of my head, if you wanted to get a plug-in hybrid sedan. Yeah, so those, I can't off the top of my head think of them. But there you go. There's some to consider. Now, not all of them are able to run the air conditioning while the car is idle. The heat pump can only do so much. while the car is sitting idle, and the gas engine might need to come on. And many vehicles don't have a heat pump in the PHEV space for non-premium cars. If you think of the Hyundai and Kia models, no heat pump. Mitsubishi has a heat pump. Toyota RAV4 Prime has a heat pump. So you have to do a little research on what has what. Okay, back up to the top we go. Here's Gary. Do you know if large wheels really affect fuel economy? I went from 16s to 18s in my hybrid, and fuel economy is relatively similar. And also, not including spare tire for efficiency doesn't add up. Okay, so for the spare tire, sometimes it's because of packaging in the back. If you have a hybrid, especially, they need to make room for the battery, and they'll get rid of the spare tire. A spare tire is a heavy component. It's just dead weight, and that's why they get rid of the spare tire and they go to a tire repair kit. You know, wheels can easily be up to 30, 40 pounds with the wheel and tire, so getting that out of the trunk sheds weight instantly. So that's one reason why they do it. I would prefer to pay the penalty to have a full-time spare tire, because if you've ever broken down and you need to change a tire, I mean, I'm pretty good at it. I can change a tire in about 10 minutes and I'm down the road. Tire repair kit, I had a bad experience with that, and it was ugly with Mustang GT. I put the goo in, filled it up, and it came right out all over my hands. It was a sticky hot mess. So rolling resistance is a big deal. Interestingly enough, with the Prius, I'm limited to what I can say here because we are under embargo until Wednesday, but the engineers were there and we were talking about the differences between tires. And there's about, okay, I can't really say exactly, but there's a difference in tire size with this car, and it affects the fuel range by about 9% from the weight of the wheel. Same thing, bigger wheel is heavier, the aerodynamic effect of a bigger wheel, and rolling resistance. So it does make quite a difference to have a bigger wheel and a bigger footprint. Another super chat, level 70. Hi, Zach. With the car theft rate skyrocketing in Toronto, what could you do to protect your vehicle? Would installing a third-party anti-theft system or OBD blocker void the manufacturer's warranty? I think what a lot of people are doing are buying those Apple tiles, you know, the ones that you can put somewhere in the car that's not easy to find. It could be under the back seat or something, where you can track the vehicle. That's probably a fairly simple way to do it if you're an Apple user, that you can buy one of those air tags and put it somewhere in the car. There's aftermarket ones, they're called tiles. You don't have to have Apple to do that. So that's one thing. Yeah, you could maybe get an OBD blocker, but the thing is, if they want your car, they'll get your car. Main thing is, if you have a garage, park the car in the garage at night. Make sure that your keys are somewhere that's not obvious. You know, if you put them right by the front door, right by the back door, that's something to consider. A lot of thieves will get into the car even if they don't have the keys. The other problem is people are stealing the catalytic converters from underneath the car. You know, unless you're going to park sort of with a curb, you know, something larger in the middle between the wheels, right where the catalytic converter is, not much you can do about that. But, you know, you just want to make sure that you have the car away, if at all possible. I'm not sure about the OBD blocker. There probably is something there that you could get, but I'm not aware of it. Yeah, it's tough. I know the auto theft ring in Toronto is really bad. People are taking the cars and shipping them all over the world. They're going to China, they're going to Africa, they're going everywhere. Here is another super chat. No question I see here, but thank you very much. All right, back up to the top we go. KP from Vancouver, just heard that Volkswagen is making the ICE Extinct. As more manufacturers are making ICE Extinct as Dodo, do you think it will backfire in general with all these automakers when limited infrastructure? I think what you're referring to is that Volkswagen has said they're not going to be replacing their bestseller in Europe, the Golf, with an internal combustion engine. The one thing you what I think the loophole that they have in there is that they do have existing engines, obviously, internal combustion powertrains that they could definitely use for many, many, many years. An engine, once it's been developed, it can be used for 30 years, and they will tweak it along the way to maybe make it more efficient. If you haven't been paying attention, in the EU, they tried to pass an EV only mandate by 2035. We've been hearing a lot about this in many countries, but Germany dug their heels in and said, we are not going to sign off on this, because what does Germany do? They're one of the biggest manufacturers of cars worldwide. It's a massive part of their GDP. They said, we're not signing off on a EV only for 2035. Now, the loophole is, if the vehicle can run on a synthetic fuel, so it would be internal combustion engine, but synthetic fuel that Porsche and other brands are working on, then the internal combustion engine could live on. Porsche is working on that. I really believe it's for their sports cars. You know, someone that wants a 911, someone that wants a sports car is going to want that sound. And if they're able to produce the synthetic fuel and have it distributed, that might be the way to go. But always remember that the engines that are being developed or have been developed in the last 10 years have a long shelf life that they can use for many, many years. Another we did that super chat already. Did I miss one here? All right. We have 336 people on board, which is very nice. Last few times we've had over 500 people on board by the very end, so that's great. Thanks very much for the thumbs up. If you guys could do a thumbs up, that would be amazing. Here's Carter. Noticing a growing car cult with lowering SUVs and thought it defeats the purpose. But it hit me that lowering SUVs equals station wagons. A lowered Outback equals a Lavorg, or however you say it. That's the station wagon from Subaru. They sell other places, but not here in North America. Yeah, it does seem kind of silly to be slamming down SUVs, and you're kind of making them into station wagons. But also seeing the trend of especially with used vehicles, is they're raising them up and they're making these safari builds out of them. This is close to me as the first generation Porsche Cayenne is being bought up. The first generation Touareg, these are being bought up, and people are putting lift kits, couple-inch lift kits in them, big tires, all-terrain tires, and they're really quite good for off-roading. So I'm seeing it both ways. Another super chat. Thank you very much. Hi, Zach. We're looking at a 3-row luxury SUV, 45 to 65 US, with adult size third row and trunk space, which is also reliable. I'm thinking Lexus TX, but can't wait. Any suggestions? Oh, I think what you're talking about is the Lexus based on the Grand Highlander. So the Grand Highlander has been announced. That's the large 3-row SUV, and it's going to be Lexified. I think that's the one you're referring to. So you're wanting a luxury 3-row SUV, 45 to 65 US dollars for real size people, and a useful trunk, and also reliable. Well, I'm going to suggest a non-luxury, but the top trim. Like, you would definitely find it feels luxurious, and that would be the Hyundai Palisade. Okay, large vehicle, got a luxury look, got a luxury interior, especially on those top trims, and you're going to have a nice driving experience. The other one is this one. As I mentioned, the video drops tomorrow. It's the CX-90. They have the top signature trims, and this is an inline 6-cylinder, and it has a beautiful interior. We've already had a video out about the interior. So this is one that would be an alternative, just like the Palisade. If you got the top trim, will have an interior and features similar to what you would get with the luxury models. The problem is when you get into a luxury vehicle space, the BMW X5 The Mercedes-Benz GLE are offered with an optional third row of seats, but they're really not that big, and I wouldn't want to sit back there. One that you might want to consider is the Audi Q7. It's been around for a long time and it's a really nice vehicle, or the Genesis GV80. But the third row seat isn't that big on that one. So my best advice is to not go to luxury, is to go to high-end versions of the mainline. Palisade would be one. This Mazda might be a good one to consider. Watch the video. It drops tomorrow and you can check it all out. I don't have a question. I just got my income tax refund and appreciate your channel. Well, how awesome is that? I appreciate that you're taking some of your hard-earned cash and giving it to us here at Motormouth. That's very nice. We got our tax return too. You gotta love it. You know what tax return means? You're just overpaying the government. But there you go. It's good to get something back. It's better. I've been on both sides of this. It's worse to get an assessment in the mail that says, oh, by the way, you owe us $5,000. And you're like, oh, how am I going to come up with $5,000? It's way better to get a check in the mail. I agree with you on that. I've had both. Oh, this is quite interesting. This I just got from Automotive News. I forgot about this. S&P has done a global mobility report, and this was published in Business Insider. The most popular vehicles by demographic, okay? So we'll go with the youngest and then go to the oldest. So Generation Z or Generation Z up to 25-year-olds. This is a shocker to me. So Generation Z or Generation Z, their top picks are Toyota Camry. I can't believe that. Toyota RAV4. That kind of makes sense. Toyota Corolla. That makes sense. It's an inexpensive car. Honda Civic, and Chevrolet Silverado. You're going to see a lot of pickup trucks in here. Then you go to millennials, all the famous millennials. Their favorite vehicles are Toyota RAV4, Chevrolet Silverado, Ford F-150, Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the Ram 1500. Other thing you're going to notice in here, a lot of pickup trucks, and actually domestic brands rate fairly well with all demographics. Older millennials up to 45, the Chevy Silverado, the F-150, the Tesla Model Y, the Ram 1500, and the Toyota RAV4. So far, for Generation Z, millennials, and older millennials, the RAV4 is a clean sweep. All right, then we get into my generation, Generation X. It's Chevrolet Silverado, Ford F-150, Ram 1500, all pickup trucks. Toyota RAV4, it's almost a clean sweep, and the Tesla Model Y. Then you get into the baby boomers. These are the younger baby boomers, up to 65. F-150, Chevy Silverado, Toyota RAV4's in there again, the Ram 1500, and the Honda CR-V. All right. Then we get to the older baby boomers, up to 75. Well, you look at that. It's the Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, F-150, Chevy Silverado, and Chevy Equinox. Chevy Equinox makes an appearance. So domestic trucks, super popular. Toyota RAV4, uber popular. And it's funny that the Tesla Model Y is really only a Gen X thing. Isn't that interesting? There you go. All right, which one would you pick? Or which demo are you? Are you Generation Z, Millennial, Gen X, or a baby boomer? I think Gen X are the best. Just saying. Ask me how I know. Gen X is the best. Okay. Another super chat. You guys are so good. I love it. About hybrid cars, we pay $10,000 extra compared to gas model. It takes 5 years to offset that gas savings. Does it make sense to go hybrid? Well, I would disagree with your sums here. Hybrid models are not 10,000 more. In many cases, especially with Toyota hybrids, they're not even a couple of grand more. I'm trying to think now. Like a RAV4 hybrid, which in my opinion is the best car on the road, overall value, and I guess all of the generations agree that the RAV4 is a good product. The RAV4 hybrid in the United States is only about $800 more to go from the gas to the hybrid. You're going to make that back in no time, especially with the price of gas. And then in Canada, it's about $1,400 or $1,500 difference. So that I'm not sure where you get the $10,000 number, but yes, if you want to spend the least amount of money and save the most in the shortest period of time, a hybrid is the way to go. You might be thinking about a plug-in hybrid. Now, a plug-in hybrid is a different calculation altogether, which is why I am camp regular hybrid. Yet another super chat. All right. Your best guess, how many miles do I have to drive a typical hybrid SUV to offset the energy for making hybrid components? Saving money aside, I doubt the hybrid is net positive for the environment. Well, I would disagree with that as well. The vehicles are more complicated, but they've also proven to be the most reliable vehicles on the road. A study that came out of the UK and another study that came out of the United States looked at all vehicle types, and the most reliable vehicles were hybrids. And that really falls on the shoulders, for the most part, of Toyota, because they have the largest hybrid portfolio, which once again proves what they're all about, which is long-term reliability. So you've also got to calculate in the lifespan of the vehicle components that need to be replaced. So if you buy a hybrid from Toyota, for example, and it's uber reliable and you don't have to repair it that often, that's also saving the environment. Now, the battery, for example, on a Toyota RAV4 is only a 1.6 kilowatt battery. It's small, small, small. When you have most electric cars are 75 plus kilowatt hour batteries. In the case of a F-150, it's over 130 kilowatt hour battery. So massive batteries. So the actual environmental impact to make a hybrid battery is minuscule in comparison to making a full battery electric vehicle. Toyota said, I think there was a 90 times factor. They could make 90 batteries for a hybrid compared to a battery electric vehicle by using the same components. So they're very reliable. They save fuel right away as soon as you buy them. They pay for themselves quickly because, as I just mentioned, there's not a big difference between gas and hybrid, and they, you don't have to repair them as much. So I'm not buying into that whole argument. Another super chat. Thank you for the answer, and I love the channel. Well, isn't that nice? That's the first time I've ever had a thank you super chat for answering the first super chat. That's pure class. You're pure class, my friend. Well done. I like that. I don't say everybody has to do that, but if you did, I'm not going to argue. All right. More super chats. My goodness, getting spoiled again today. I'm Generation Z, and I own a 2020 Honda Accord Sport. Well, there you go. Honda Accord is not on the list. Honda Accord is a great product, though. Okay, I'm trying to remember. So is that the 2-liter turbo? Is that the one you have? Because if that's the one you have, we have the brand new Honda Accord. Everybody's been asking us, when are you getting the Pilot? When are you getting the Accord? Well, they have landed. They're parked in front of the house. And I was out driving the Accord today, and very nicely done. But I was thinking while I was driving it, the one that's going to be collectible for the Honda Accord was the last generation. They made the 2-liter turbo with a manual transmission. So that's a fun car to hustle around, actually. And I kind of like the previous generation looks. So if you've got one of those, that will be worth some money one day. My T-Bird from Vancouver Island. On a recent trip through Vancouver, I noticed that EVs get to drive in the HOV lane with only one occupant in the car. What's with that? Well, I heard a radio call-in show here in Vancouver recently talking about this. I'm not in favor of these sorts of incentives for electric cars. If you watch this live show regularly, you know my thoughts on giving incentives for electric cars. I think it's asinine. We should be investing all that money in the electric grid, which is going to need to be drastically improved, and for putting charging infrastructure, places to plug in for everybody as we move through the next 10 plus years. That, in my opinion, is where the money should be going. Giving people money for personal transportation is folly, and you're not getting one extra car off the road road. You're not getting people on buses and high-speed trains. You're not building new subways. You're not doing any of that. You're just giving people money for personal transportation. So incentives are different depending on where you are. In many places, you get to access the HOV lane or the carpool lane. That's the case here. I think it is in other places around the world as well. There was another one I remember in Quebec. I think you got to go on ferries for free. In Norway, you get parking at the airport for free. You get, I think, there's all kinds of incentives in Norway. So yeah, it's just one of those things that will eventually have to go away. These are all going to have to go away at some point because we just can't have all of the carpool lanes clogged up with EVs. It's going to end sometime. I'm not sure the government or the government official that's going to have the balls to do that, but at some point someone's going to have to do it. Here's Mark Gagnon. Hey, Mark. What's your take on a 17 to 22 Land Rover Disco Sport? Any big issues to look for? Would you know which year is best to buy? Thanks and keep up the great work. Off the top of my head, I do not know. We do have a regular viewer of the live show who has not sent in any pictures or been on the live show lately, John Pettigrew, who lives on the East Coast in Moncton in New Brunswick. He bought one of these vehicles recently, and he seems very, very happy with it. So the Discovery Sport is the smaller 4-cylinder with the available third row seat option, which is very unique in that space. I like driving it. I think it looks good. I don't know about the reliability of that particular unit, but I do know about the reliability of Land Rover and Jaguar cars generally is right near the very bottom of the auto industry. So if you're really considering getting a Discovery Sport, you have to do a lot of research. You have to make sure you get the car inspected. You have to make sure or really try and get a car under extended warranty or buy an extended warranty for the product. But the honest answer from me to you is probably better to buy something else just because the repair record of the brand is not good or just isn't. It's at the very bottom year after year of the dependability studies. So if you absolutely love it, you have to have an English car and you like the idea of having a Rover and all that, I get it. Because they are kind of different and fun to drive and they're not common. But John has had good experience with his. He's had it now for about 6 months. So if he's on the live show, it would be great if he could chime in. Joe Chris, another super chat. My goodness. From Joe. Oh, here's his question. Joe comes in below. What do you think of, again, updated Jeep Compass with a supposedly better engine? Thanks very much. Well, they couldn't have put a crappier engine in there. That was the old Tiger Shark engine, and it was like, it just made a horrible noise. So now they've gone to the 2-liter, I think it's a 2-liter turbo. It's going to be much better. It's got to be way better. It was noisy, it was thrashy, and it just wasn't good. So can't wait to get our hands on it, but I think it's going to be a big improvement. People who have driven the Dodge Demon said it's really great to drive. So hopefully Stellantis is in the right direction because it is a shared platform with the Alfa Romeo Tonale, the Jeep, and the Dodge. No, sorry. What did I say? It's the Hornet. Did I say Demon? It's the Hornet. I got all mixed up with my retro car names because they're bringing back an old name from Dodge for a subcompact SUV. So the Dodge Hornet, the Alfa Romeo Tonale, or Toenail, I like to call it, and the Compass, all sharing major components. So the reports back from the Dodge are really strong. So we'll have to wait and see what it's like in the Compass. Thoughts on the Audi Q5 plug-in with Prestige trim? Two things: range is weak and the price is high. So I think I wouldn't want to buy one. Put it that way. I think there's probably better choices. BMW with the X3, if you wanted a plug-in, would probably be a better choice. The GLC hybrid plug-in hybrid has not been confirmed yet, but I guarantee you are pretty sure it'll be coming. So yeah, it wouldn't be my choice. I think the range is weak and the price is too high. this car again. So this is the Mazda plug-in hybrid. Once again, video drops tomorrow. Something to consider as an alternative to a luxury brand, but isn't a luxury brand. Uh, 2023 Volkswagen Atlas. Thanks again for another super chat. AK here. 2023 Atlas or CX-9 or CX-90. Please decide. Well, I can't. I'm kind of a little handcuffed here because the embargo on this drops tomorrow morning. When you get up, the video will be out. So I can just talk in generalities, not specifics about this model till tomorrow. So a couple of things. The 2023 Atlas is the last year for the VR6 engine. Okay, next year, as a 2024 model, will be arriving in the summer or the fall of this year. They've dropped the V6 engine and they've just gone to a 2-liter turbocharged engine. Think like a GTI engine in a big Volkswagen Atlas. Now, I haven't driven it yet, but apparently it drives okay. But the VR6 has been around forever. It's very reliable. The engine is very reliable. Downside, it likes gas. So depending on where you live, if you live in a fairly inexpensive jurisdiction for gas, not a bad choice. If you live in an area where gas is very expensive, like here in Vancouver, most expensive gas in North America, might want to pass. But it's the last year for the VR6. Then you move your attention to the CX-9. As we know, this car was replacing the CX-9. It's a turbocharged 4-cylinder, and it does a good job. I like the CX-9. It's got a nice interior, especially on the higher Signature and GT trims, and that's what they're called in the Canadian market. But they have a nice layout, good-looking vehicle, nice handling, and the turbocharged 4-cylinder does a good job. This, however, is a whole different thing. This is an inline 6-cylinder, turbocharged, 8-speed automatic, and a rear bias all-wheel drive system. So, which one? Probably that one of those two. My goodness, all these super chats. Here's Scott, who sent the picture in of his Mustang. Thanks again, Scott. Surprised there's even a top 5 for Gen Zers or Zers. I have twin 17-year-olds, and one does not care, that's the boy, at all about driving. Need to check the DNA. It is true. We have 2 teenagers, essentially. One is driving, the other one isn't. And, you know, the one that's driving likes having the car, likes the independence, but I would say is really not into other brands. I think, you know, talking about the Generation Z or Z, Toyota Camry, RAV4, those sound to me like hand-me-downs, right? If you think about it. So Generation Z is up to 25 years old. So a Toyota Camry is a classic example of grandpa or mom and dad giving them the old family car. And the Toyota RAV4 also sounds like grandma or the parents giving them the family car, the used one. The Toyota, in this lineup, the Toyota Corolla and the Honda Civic, those are legit first cars, right? Our teenagers, what are they driving? Honda Civic. And the Silverado probably is another hand-me-down. Interesting, though. You're right. There's a whole generation of young people just don't care about cars. They look at cars as a grudge purchase. You know, meet the girl down the street, get married, move to the suburbs, pregnant. Oh, now we got to buy an SUV. They don't look at it like my generation, where it was like, ooh, we get to buy a new car. That's so much fun. It's not that. It's like, it's a grudge purchase. That's what I think happens. Another very generous super chat, again from Scott Young, several weeks in a row now. Happy Sunday, Zach. No question this week, but love live shows. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Appreciate that. Okay, Limited Reach with another super chat. Honda is pouring billions into EVs. They waited too late. Didn't even have much of a budget for their new products, which is why they're lacking. I would totally disagree with that. I think that every brand is pouring billions into EVs. It's not Honda. it's everybody. And Honda has partnered up with General Motors. They're going to be using the Ultium platform that General Motors is debuting in a bunch of new vehicles. So it's already out with the Equinox, with the Lyric. It's coming with the Equinox and the Blazer this year. And there's going to be other vehicles announced shortly. We're going to get the inside track on one of them soon. So they have the General backing them up. So the billions of dollars that General Motors has spent, Honda is spending, and they're sharing the cost because they're going to be making an electric vehicle called Prologue, which should be out this fall as a 2024. So that's good news. Honda will have an electric SUV. Acura they'll have an Acura version as well with a more luxurious trim. And they've also partnered with Sony they produced a concept vehicle, but they're going to be partnering with Sony to help develop more electric vehicles. I would say, having spent just a short period of time in the Pilot and the Accord, that their vehicles are not lacking. They might be lacking in terms of hybridization and plug-ins and no full EV yet, but it is coming. They are on the way. Pilot, great job. Accord, great job. Honda Civic, great job. CRV, okay job. HRV, weak job. But they have some vehicles that I think are actually really quite good. Okay, for everybody that is tuning in now, I just want to let you know, if you missed the beginning, the CX-90 reviews will be dropping tomorrow when you get up. So that's the inline 6-cylinder CX-90 review, and the plug-in hybrid will be dropping tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, it's the Prius Prime, and on Thursday, it's the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. No pictures of Zach in the thumbnails because nobody wants to look at me. But those are all dropping. And we're also flying on Tuesday to the New York Auto Show, and we will be doing quick walk-around videos and uploading them as quickly as we can, so make sure you stick around for that. Whatever's new from New York will be there. GA, do you think electric cars and the 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 times so quick there could be more accidents? Like Vancouver already has pretty bad drivers and people just zip by each other. Well, I got a bit of a story for you. If you see our videos that we do when we're here in Vancouver, we have what we call our car-to-car shots. So we have a camera on one car and then we're taking a video of this car. So we drive along, and that's out by UBC. We do that by the University of British Columbia. Nice long stretch of road. It's been recently paved. Thank you, UBC, for paving that. So when every single time that we're driving along that road, the people that are driving the fastest are driving in Teslas, and they're typically, this is from firsthand experience. I'm not making this up. This is what I see with my own eyes. It's young men. Young men driving Teslas really fast. So to your point, you have all that power. They like that power. They want to use that power. And a lot of times they're doing this in between, like just driving like idiots, right? But yeah, you can get into trouble in any car. It doesn't need to be electric. Some brands have nannies for cars, especially for younger drivers. Volvo had this, General Motors has this, where it basically limits the speed of the car and where it can go. Or if once it goes outside that boundary, it notifies the parents on their phone. It'll also send a report if the forward collision warning or ABS kicked in, or traction instability control. So this is real mother stuff, right? Grandmother stuff. And you get home and you go, I understand the forward collision warning came on 3 times, Johnny. What were you up to? So I would never have wanted that when I was young, but it's available. Looks like the markup game is backfiring. Case in point, a friend of mine says that Cam Clark Ford here in Vancouver trying to hand out incentives to possible buyers for 2022 cars, trucks that are not sold. Well, I mentioned that off the beginning that I was speaking with one of the principals at CarCostCanada.com, and they see through the industry, they're talking to dealerships all the time, there's going to be too many full-size trucks, back to your point. Ram, Silverado, F-150. More trucks than buyers, reduced interest rates, and incentives are coming. So there you go. Here's Jeff Fraser. What did you make of the article of the new Toyota president and engineers calling Tesla Model Y ingenious work of art and manufacturing prowess after disassembling a Model Y? Like, listen, don't think that they just figured this out now. Don't just think that they just, for the first time, reverse engineered a Model Y. That goes on all the time. Model Y's been out for years. Toyota's had it apart many times. But yeah, I mean, basically they're giving kudos to the market leader. Tesla is the market leader. They've been able to make cars at scale and at prices that attract people. I think they're expensive, but some people don't. But the great thing about brands looking at the industry leader is that they can, you know, if you're the last one to the party, you get to learn all the dance moves before you go. So you would hope that brands that are reverse engineering Teslas are going to learn something and use some of those ideas for their own products. So I think that's what's coming. We'll have to have a look. See. Oh, here's Danny. Danny is the one who had a picture. Thank you for the super chat of his MX-5 in the flowers in Vancouver. Here's AK again with another super chat. Buy now gas or hybrid or PHEV for future value. I've heard this so many times. People say, why would you buy a gas car today? It's going to be worth nothing in a few years. I'm not buying that. Here's what's going to happen. As we move towards electrification, the prices of cars, if you think cars are expensive today, the prices of cars are going to continue to go up. And if they start removing certain models from the lineup, gas engines or hybrids, and replacing them with plug-ins and electrics, the overall cost of new cars is going to continue to go higher because electric vehicles are very expensive to make. The technology that people are demanding for new vehicles is very expensive to make. Everybody's chasing the same resources around the world. Every brand needs to have the lithium, the copper, you name it, that goes into battery cells. Everybody's competing for that. There's reports that there's just not going to be enough of these minerals. So when you have competition, that drives up the prices. I honestly think that as we head towards 2030 and 2035, driving a car is going to be really, for people, a new car for people who have money. What does that mean for used cars? I think there's going to be great demand for good quality used cars. Excuse me. We've seen it already in the last couple of years with the shortage of new vehicles in the marketplace. The price of used cars went through the roof. What people don't understand is new vehicle sales are a fraction of overall car sales. So new vehicle sales get all the showbiz. That's the end of the game we're in, you know, with reviewing new cars. But used car sales are way bigger overall. So if new cars continue to get more and more and more expensive, and people just can't afford those new cars, they're going to start shopping for good used cars. Those prices are going to continue to stay high because as the new cars are moving more towards electrification, those good used cars are going to be more sought after. I don't believe it. I could be proven wrong. I could stand here in 10 years and say, Zach, I was totally wrong. All these used gas cars are worth nothing. No one's going to want them. But I just don't think that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that as the prices of new cars continue to escalate, good used cars are going to be worth good money as well. Limited Reach again with another super chat. I'm referring to Honda's own EV architecture named e-architecture coming in 2026 as far as lackluster. I was referring to the HRV and the CRV. You know, the HRV and the CRV definitely are lackluster. I think the CRV, actually, I disagree on the CRV. The CRV is a really nice driving car. They did a really good job with it. Packaging is a different thing. So the HRV drives well and the CRV drives well. The way they're designed is first rate. Honda knows how to design great packaging on the inside. It's the features that they put in there and what they charge for them. That's out of step. But we'll have to wait exactly and see what exactly the 2026 EV architecture means. But they are working with other suppliers to get that figured out. But they will, and Honda will. They're definitely a big player. All right, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. All right, back up to the topic. Are we over? Oh, look at that. We're over 500. 500 people on board and 190 thumbs up. If you guys could smash the thumbs up, that would be fantastic. All right. Harpreet is here. Harpreet's here every Sunday. Thank you. Me and my dad went to Vancouver Canucks game at Rogers Arena. Awesome. The game starts in 10 minutes. That's nice. Hopefully you have good seats. Actually, there's not a bad seat there. They have good seats there. Giza the Champ. My first time joining the live Q&A. Awesome. Glad that you're here. Mazda, the Kamem has been sold off. I don't know what that means. I apologize. Hi, Zach. Angela is there, I guess. Hybrid, Highlander XLE Hybrid or Pathfinder SL. What do you think is the best investment? Highlander all day. Just because hybrid, it's not the most invigorating car to drive. It's got a 4-cylinder hybrid system. It does the job. It's nicely designed on the inside. It's comfortable, but it is just one of those vehicles, like most Toyota hybrids, is that they're just a great vehicle to own. Don't cost you much to run. And when you go to sell them, there's going to be a long list of people that want a hybrid Highlander. So Highlander all day long. How do you feel about Honda releasing a hydrogen CR-V next year? Well, we're going to hear more about hydrogen over the next little while for internal combustion engines, especially trucks, where they're going to be able to retrofit long-haul trucks with hydrogen. And we're not talking about hydrogen fuel cells. We're talking about hydrogen internal combustion engines. I think that's interesting fuel to watch. But there you go. We'll have to wait and see what it's all about. The thing is, you know, I can speculate all you like, but that's all it is. It's just speculation. Let's wait until we find out more about it. Do you think the Outlander LE trim is better value than the CR-V LX all-wheel drive? Okay, I'm at a disadvantage here. I don't have all the trims of the Highlander in front of me. What you need to do is open both websites, look at them. Actually, go and watch the videos. We break down the different trims and which one we think is the one to buy in the videos. So look up Outlander video, and what's the other one? The CR-V. Yeah, you'll get all the information there. What are the pros and cons between cars with and without moonroofs? Well, the pro is it doesn't have a moonroof. I don't like moonroofs or sunroofs. I like what they call a slick top or a tin top. I don't like the sun shining on me when I'm driving. People think, they go, why don't you like sunroofs? It's because when I'm driving, the sun is on me. It hits the back of my sunglasses, the reflection. But when it's dark inside, my sunglasses get to absorb all the sun. I like that. I just don't like sunroofs for the most part. There are other advantages. First of all, structural rigidity of the vehicle is better. You have a roof that is a major structural component of a car without a hole in it. Right? So if you have a hole in it, it's not as structurally strong as one that doesn't. Another one is wind noise. Not so much of a big deal here in North America because our road speeds are really not that high. I mean, we're talking 60, 70 miles an hour, 100, 120 kilometers an hour. It is a big deal, though, if you're driving in Europe and driving on the Autobahn or the Autostrada, where you can really belt down the road as fast as you really want to. Then the sunroof makes quite a bit more noise. So that's just one of the things to consider. There have also been stories of the big panoramic moonroofs shattering as the air pressure goes over the top of the car. They basically, if there's a weakness in there from a stone chip or something, the whole thing can shatter. Don't let that stop you from buying one. I mean, we have a car with a big panel roof. That was the one we had to buy because we wanted the car, and it wasn't going to let us stop it, us buying it. What's your outlook on the new vehicle outlook for the rest of 2023 to 34? Do you think supply shortages will continue to persist? Will new vehicle prices come close to pre-chem, though the prices are not coming down? Like, what are we all living through? We're all living through inflationary times. What happens with inflation is inflation goes up, and they bring in the interest rates, which is what we're living with now, a quarter point interest rate last week or the week before from the Federal Reserve, all to try and tame inflation. So what happens when they bring inflation down is that they're stopping the rise of prices. So if we're right now at 5, 6, 7% inflation, we've come down from 8, 9%. So the level of inflation or prices rising has slowed down. And the goal is to bring the prices down to 2%, which means $100 this year will cost you $102 next year. That's a 2% inflation target, okay? But that means that the speed at which prices are going up will slow. It doesn't mean that the prices are going to come down. That's deflationary. That means your $100 next year is worth $98. We're not going to see that unless we have a major crash and the whole economy goes in the crapper. Don't see that happening. So the prices have gone up, and we're hopefully going to get to a point where they don't continue to go up at the rate we have been seeing. So that is where they start to get inflation under control. But the prices are not coming down. They're going to stay at these levels and probably continue to creep up over the next few years. Back to my point I made about used cars, back to the point I made about vehicles generally. Vehicles are getting more and more expensive to buy. For example, the good old Honda Civic, which is a favorite with Generation Z or Z, the base price in Canada, this where I live, is $26,000. It was 7 years ago, you could buy one for $17,000, right? We're not going back to that. So whatever the prices have come up to over the last few years because of supply shortages and inflation, they're not going down again. What you might see are individual cases where they're making too many of something, right? We talked about it already. They'll be making too many full-size pickup trucks. General Motors, Stellantis, and Ford, there's lots of them available. They are going to start to reduce on your behalf the interest you pay. So instead of going and getting a truck loan or a car loan for 7, 8, 9%, they're going to basically subvert the rate and get it to you for 1.9, 2%. You're actually ahead of the game by getting the cheap money. We might also get to a point where they make too many of something and they actually have to add incentives. $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 on the hood of the car. So you can get hopefully cheap money and maybe a bit of a discount, but still the MSRP values that we have today are not going backwards. They're only going to go up as the years go forward. All right. Do you think Hyundai and Kia need to stop changing their designs so quick? Must be bad for resale value. New Sonata and Kona look so different. Tucson probably get that mid-cycle refresh soon. Well, you've got to remember that Hyundai and Kia are in the business of selling new cars, right? So residual value affects lease for sure. If you're somebody that leases a vehicle, what you're going to be able to pay for the vehicle over 4 years is definitely based on the residual value, but it's based on the new model. So new models, sexy new models, they get a lot more hype, and they're going to be in the marketplace for 3 or 4 years, which will not affect residual values. So I would say that the one thing I like about Hyundai and Kia is they're always pushing. They have some great designs, great interiors, wonderful products to drive, and they're really pushing everybody. So what I've been saying for years is Tesla is the brand that pushed everybody to move towards electrification, and Hyundai and Kia are the brands that are pushing everybody else to up their game when it comes to features and content. To your point, they do change a lot. I always joke in the videos and say, just wait 2 weeks, they'll have something new. But that's refreshing for new car buyers. To your point, kind of frustrating for used car buyers. Okay. Here's Limited Reach again with another super chat. When are the Pilot Accord videos being released? We're going to record them this week. They'll be a week Wednesday and a week Saturday. So in the next 10 days, they'll both be out. Because this week, as I mentioned, we have the CX-90, the Corolla Cross, the Prius, and then all the stuff from the New York Auto Show. Okay, we are up to 1 hour now. 521 people on board. That's a new record for the live show. Thank you very much. Don't forget to get your pictures in. Zach at motormouth.ca, ZACK at motormouth.ca, or ZACK at motormouth.ca. Get your pictures in for the live show. Thanks to everybody that spoiled me once again with these super chats. You've been very, very generous. It's now 5 o'clock on the West Coast. The Canucks are playing tonight. So I'm going to go and switch on the hockey game. Thanks to everybody. We'll chat with you. We'll be here next Sunday. Chat with you next Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye now.